So, enter Tim Berners-Lee, or TBL for short. Some people just call him Timble. He's a software engineer. He was working at CERN when he invented the web. And by the way, that's CERN, which is an acronym for its French name, which roughly translates to the European Council for Nuclear Research. Or in short, it's the European Physics Lab in Switzerland. So in those days, as it is today, CERN is full of scientists from all over the world, and everyone had their own systems for documentation. Some used software packages called WordPerfect. Others used Microsoft Word. Some shared documents as PostScript files, and all of these formats were very proprietary. It was nothing less than chaos. Nothing interoperated, and it was like walking into a library where every book used a different language and a different filing system. So even LaTeX and DVI, which were common and still are common in academia, but they were meant for producing high quality printed documents, not so much for creating software files or documents that could be easily understood or worked with. So LaTeX, by the way, is a markup language used a lot by scientists and researchers to format their equations and structure their papers, and then use that to compile to DVI, which is short for device independent format, which is essentially a step towards ready output like PostScript. The result looks great on paper, but there was no built-in way for the software to understand or structure the content in any meaningful or machine-readable way. On the other hand, you could export or save your documents to plain text, which was one way of sharing your research across the internet so everyone could read it. But the problem with that is that it lacked any kind of formatting, so authors were forced to, in effect, create their own pseudo-formatting with dashes and asterisks and other time-consuming visual tricks to help their research papers still look human-readable. And by the way, all these plain text documents, they also lacked any sense of semantic structure. In other words, they had no way to indicate parts of a document as a heading or a paragraph. And there was no way to have these documents convey meaning of the content in a way that might make it more machine readable, so that search engines and indexing tools, which would come later, would be able to analyze these documents more intelligently. And keep in mind, by the way, PDFs didn't even exist yet. Adobe wouldn't introduce the portable document format, or PDF, until the early 1990s. And even then, it took years before PDFs were widely adopted as a standard for sharing digital documents online. So, that was the state of things. The internet could move files around, but the documents themselves weren't easy for software to interpret, and they definitely weren't linked together in any meaningful way. And if you could find any of those documents, your only choice was to download them to your own computer, open them up, and take a look in some software package that you paid for, and then most likely you just print them out if you wanted to read it. And that's what Tim Berners-Lee set out to change. But he didn't try to fix it by building some massive centralized database. Instead, he asked himself, what if these documents could live on, wherever they were on the internet, but be connected together like in one big system? So he didn't start from scratch. He brought together 3 existing technologies. So in no particular order, they were: number 1, sharing documents over the internet; number 2, structuring documents so software could interpret them, which might take some explaining; and number 3, hypertext. So let's break these things down one at a time. So number 1, sharing documents over the internet, which was already happening, but inefficiently and usually as an extra step after the author published their paper in some journal publication. So number 2 was a big one. That was structuring documents so software could interpret them. And that was a big leap for documents in the 1980s, because instead of just uploading binary files or typeset output, Tim Berners-Lee envisioned using plain text documents with a little extra text that the author would add to their own documents as markup, or in effect they would tag their own content. So you would add tags like, H1s for headings, or the P tag for paragraphs, and for lists you would use the UL tag for unordered lists, and that would give the document some structure and meaning, so a computer could parse, in other words, break it down so it could understand what each one of the parts was, and then display it sensibly for the user online. And then it could even extract the information to be used in different ways instead of just downloading the file and printing it out. So by adding a little bit of structure to the documents, that enabled basic formatting of the content automatically without expensive software. It also made indexing and searching easier. So there was no more guessing about what a document contained just based on just the file name. So if you could reach a document on the internet, you could access it and actually see it right on your screen, and it was free, and at the time that was mind-blowing. So then so that was number 2. Number 3 was of the 3 existing technologies that Tim Berners-Lee brought together. The third one was hypertext, the idea that one document could link to another. This already been explored in the 1960s by pioneers like Doug Engelbart and Ted Nelson, but the inspiration for Tim Berners-Lee may have come a little closer to home, because Tim Berners-Lee's colleague, Robert Cailliau, who was a fan of Apple's HyperCard app, which was kind of a digital index card system for the early Macintosh computers that used clickable links. So basically within the app, they used an index card metaphor. So you would write a little text on each card, and where appropriate, you would link some of the text to another card within that same stack of cards. And that was it. Now, it wasn't a very popular app. But HyperCard couldn't, the problem was HyperCard couldn't connect to other computers, but the concept was sticky. So for Tim Berners-Lee, it likely reinforced the potential of linking knowledge digitally using this thing called hypertext.